Hey everybody, and welcome to the Wallcrawler Cast. I'm James, the main guy running this. I run the account Wallcrawler Facts, and my co-host Noah's not here today. He's busy, and my another co-host that I was going to introduce in this one, he was also too busy. So I got I guess, second alternate, Philip, my brother. He's gonna be helping me out today. So how'd you get into the character?
For me, Spider-Man, it's just kind of been character that's been in our family, introduced by my dad, pretty much,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just been watching the movies, comic books, reading those to us as kids, and watching the TV shows, all that stuff.
Yeah, we grew up on the '90s show and the Spectacular Spider-Man show. Did you ever watch the Ultimate Spider-Man?
I did not.
I watched like the first season, and then I'm like, this is not very good. I'm like, I like the other one better. Even as like a 10-year-old kid, I was like, nah. And yeah, I mean, and we didn't watch the MTV Spider-Man either. Um, that one was like the all CG one. It was like a spin-off of the Raimi movies. It was like an alternate. After the second movie came out, it was deemed like non-canon to the movies, but it was like after the first movie, to capitalize on the success of the movie, MTV's like, okay, let's make a Spider-Man cartoon about that Spider-Man. So yeah, I didn't watch that either growing up. But I recently bought it at like a video store. Yeah, they still exist. Uh, and it was like the whole show for like $10. So it's only 13 episodes, which kind of sucks. So it kind of ends on a cliffhanger, but it was really cool. Won a bunch of awards for like breakthrough animation stuff, because at the time that kind of animation was like just starting up. So having Spider-Man swing like that, even though it doesn't look great by today's standards, it's pretty cool back then. Um, Neil Patrick Harris was the voice of him. You don't know who that is, but he was in like a, I don't know what the show was, How I Met Your Mother, I think, but I didn't watch that. So um, yeah, so a lot of people think it's cool that he's in it. Um, so yeah, we actually watched the Spider-Man Unlimited, talking about shows. We were all sick, like we were all like puking on like, I don't, it was like a random weekend in the summer, like a year or two ago. I was like, even though we all felt terrible, I was like, let's just put on this show that I've heard about just for fun. And it's the '90s Spider-Man Unlimited show, which is, it was going to be a Spider-Man 2099 show, but it's like Avi Arad was like, no, it has to be Peter Parker. Or I don't know who said that, but it was, they're like, no one knows who Miguel O'Hara is. Do you know who that is? That's Spider-Man 2099. So that's why they changed it, because normal people wouldn't know. Um, but I mean, you got to make the show so people will know. That's the point.
Yeah.
But they chickened out. So it's really weird. But I like it. It's like
Its own version of Spider-Man.
yeah, it's the first episode is like a comic book, a random, just like a normal, like a standard Spider-Man comic, and then like then he goes to space, and it's kind of like he goes to another dimension. And it's like, okay, there's all these animals walking around.
It turned out to be pretty cool though.
Yeah,
Like Venom and Carnage in there. Pretty cool plot.
yeah, I thought it was solid. I mean, given I was, who knows, I wasn't really thinking very critically when I was watching it, because I was like,
I mean, as far as we
sick.
could tell with our limited ability at that time, it was okay.
Yeah, so while we were completely sick, super sick, feeling terrible. It was great. So whenever I think about being sick, I think about that show. It's nice. So I kind of don't want to rewatch it just because of that. I've not a good memory, but I don't know. It's fond. I have a fond memory of it. Not the sick part, but just watching it. Um,
The theme was pretty good too.
the what?
The theme.
Oh, the theme. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like synth music. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All of the Spider-Man shows have had good theme songs for the most part. Can't really, except like the '80s ones. Those were kind of cheesy, but I mean, like all the ones since the '90s show, like they've all been great. Like I nothing beats Spectacular Spider-Man though, for me at least. I wish the new shows had themes, but instead they just have like the title cards, which is kind of sucks. But it's just like it flashes the logo and then goes to black, then a commercial. So more commercial time instead of a theme song.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. I need another Spider-Man song to listen to. I don't care what it is, because like none of them are any like specific genre, so they're all cool though. Which theme is your favorite?
Probably Spectacular.
Nothing beats it for me. I mean, I would say the '90s show second, but I mean, nothing beats Spectacular. Have you listened to the extended one? It's like the whole 3 minute song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know all the lyrics, but it's pretty nice. I know most of them, but like I try to sing like the verses that are like random, that aren't like the repeating ones in the middle of the song of the extended one, and I always mess up. So I try not to sing it too loud, so I don't like completely butcher the song because it's too good. So, what's your favorite version of Spider-Man?
My favorite version of Spider-Man is probably the old school '60s Spider-Man. First few issues.
Yeah, I'm actually going through all of them at the moment. I started. It's been kind of slow going because all those issues are so dense. I mean, well, we have one right here, but it's like I'm on issue. Um, I'm on issue 30. I'm on the second to last Ditko issue, so I'm on like 37. Um, they're just so dense. Like even though they're like 15 cents when they came out, um, you got a lot for your buck, like or a lot for your 15 cents. Like this is Annual 7, which Annual 7 was just reprints. After Annual 5, they started doing reprints for a few years, but instead of like original stories for the annuals. But yeah, it's just like these early issues were super long. Like they're still 22 pages, all of them, just like standard comics today. It's just like, look at all the words on this. Like, it's just crazy the amount. Like, usually comics nowadays, I mean, I can just show you. I'm just going crazy. All right. Yeah, this is completely off topic, but I mean, just like this sort of stuff, like not many words. I mean that only has 6 panels. This has like 6 panels on both pages, and then each page in the '60s era, they all have these panels, and each one has like a lot of dialogue. It's like it just takes forever to read. And then there's the captions. I mean, just so much stuff, so much like content in just 22 pages. It's crazy how they crammed it all in there, but yeah, that's why it takes so long. They're so dense.
Like it takes 4 times longer to read that.
Yeah, I can read like a normal comic like that comes out this week in 5 minutes, and it takes me 25 to read those. Like it's crazy. So that's why it's taking me so long. It's just a drag to get, not because they're bad stories. It's just it's like reading like 2 chapters in a book that never ends. So, I mean, yeah, it's like reading a super long book saga of like 100 books, and it's just like, how do I even like tackle this? It's like 800 issues, and so I'm taking out a small chunk at a time. You just got to focus on the issue you're reading. So yeah, I was saying, you like those comics of the early Ditko stuff. He drew the first 38 issues. So yeah, I've been reading all those, and I hadn't actually read all of them. Like, I had read, of course, a few of them, but like this was the first time I read through all of them and actually like got the full story. So it was really cool to get like perspective on what Peter was actually like in high school, rather than having like later comic writers trying to retell what Ditko did. I was just straight up reading what Ditko did. Yeah, I'm excited to keep going. Once it gets like it'll like over time there's less words on the pages and there's not as many panels. So I'm hoping it won't take as long later down the line. So what's your favorite Spider-Man show?
Favorite Spider-Man show is the '90s Spider-Man show. I just like it has more of a comic book feel, and I just like all the character dynamics really well with all that.
Yeah, I really like that. That show. If Spectacular didn't exist, I would say it'd be the perfect like comic adaptation. Like, true to the characters. Like, some of the stories are ripped straight out of the comic. Like the Mysterio episode in particular, I remember it was basically Amazing Spider-Man issue 13. Like, it was basically the same thing, just slightly different. That's how it was for most of them. I mean, like even Spectacular ripped like it's like the episode that has Mary Jane in it. Like, it's basically issue 42 of Amazing Spider-Man. That entire episode. The ending is literally the same. And it's like such an obscure villain, John Jameson, with like the space stuff that makes him really strong or whatever. Yeah, so like just as like a hardcore fan, like that episode of Spectacular makes me really happy because that's like the only time that has ever been like retold, was John Jameson being like an astronaut, bringing back those things and giving him powers. Mm-hmm. He turned into a werewolf later. So like, what are the odds? He got like all the super strength from like random space spores is what they called them. And then man, John Jameson has had an eventful life. He got saved by Spider-Man. He was like going into orbit, but then his rocket failed. And Spider-Man saved him. Then he went back into space, came back, and then he had all this power. And he had to have a suit to weigh him down. And then later on, he became a werewolf. So like, I think he died too. And he married the She-Hulk.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's had a crazy life. I mean, being an astronaut in and of itself is hard enough. I mean,
yeah,
that's eventful enough. But then he has all this other stuff on top of it. Yeah. So, okay, so you like the '90s show best? Yeah, I really like that show. It's kind of weird though that Peter wears the same outfit every episode though. I know it's a budget thing, but like, he has the same green and purple shirt on at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all the characters do, but it's funny. Like, does he go through his closet and it's the same shirt like all the way across the wall?
like it is in B-Movie.
Yeah. Like yellow, black, yellow, black, yellow, black. Oh, black and yellow. Okay, let's shake it up a bit. Yeah. Oh man, and he looks like he's really big. Like, he's really buff in that cartoon. He's like drawn like He-Man. Looks like a bodybuilder.
He's definitely the largest Spider-Man.
Yes. He looks like a bodybuilder. Man, I wish Gwen was in that show. Because, I mean, Mary Jane was not really Mary Jane. Like, that could have easily been Gwen Stacy, but I know why they didn't put her in there. But, because John Semper Jr. was like, who was the head writer, he was like, I didn't want people to be invested in a character that's already dead in the comics. So, because people would be like, oh, when is she dying? When is she dying? So he put Mary Jane in there. And Mary Jane is she basically acts like Gwen Stacy. It's like your standard love interest that's a damsel in distress sometimes. I would like to see like a Mary Jane straight up comic adaptation of Mary Jane, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen anytime soon. Spectacular Spider-Man was the closest to do it, but it got canceled, so it wasn't ever like developed all the way. But yeah, like the Spider-Man game made her into Lois Lane, just made her a reporter, and made her do really stupid stuff. Like, she could have easily been killed. Well, I mean, she did in the parts where I failed. Wait. Man. Like you knock over a box and you're dead.
Yeah, right now I'm playing the game and I'm about halfway through the game. When there's a prison break and right now I'm trying to put all the prisoners back where they go and haven't fought any supervillains yet.
Oh, no one?
No.
Not even the Shock?
Well, no, not the ones that recently broke out.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. I know you've fought Shocker at least.
Hey, Herman.
No, hey, Herman. And Kingpin. Yeah, there's a bunch of like the Sinister Six. It's pretty cool. That's when the city breaks loose and is literally on fire. And you're like, where the heck is the Avengers? Like, I see the tower right there, but where are they? Like, Spider-Man says, oh, they're on the West Coast somewhere. But it's like, dude, New York is on fire. Where are you? What the heck? It literally makes no sense. I mean, but it's got to be a Spider-Man standalone story. So, I mean, where's Daredevil? Like, where are all the New York-based heroes? Where's Luke Cage? Where's Iron Fist? You can see Rand Corporations. If you look, like, on the ground, you can see his building. And you can see Jessica Jones's, like, Alias Investigations building. But where are they? What are they doing? Like, I mean, maybe Iron Fist could be, like, in, like, Kunlun and training or whatever. But I really can't think of any, like, the odds of no one teaming up with Spider-Man, it's zero. It makes no sense.
Well, it's just the story. You gotta stick with the story.
I know. It's just, I don't know. That's just an inherent problem with Marvel stories in general, because everyone's in New York City, and it's kind of like anytime anything happens in the comics, you're like, wait, why aren't the Avengers here? Like, the world's about to end. Like, why is Spider-Man here by himself? It's just, you just got to deal with it and pretend that the heroes are off doing something else. Even however ridiculous it may be, but they're somewhere else doing something.
Well, maybe just...
That's just the problem with having them all in the same spot.
Yeah, let you know that...
It's a gift and a curse.
Yeah, Spider-Man, he doesn't need everyone else. He'll just beat them all by himself.
Yeah.
I mean, like that much more awesome.
I mean, he did it, but spoilers. Sorry. Yeah. I won't say how, but he did do it. That ending's, it might make you cry. I mean, I'm just all I'm saying. It made me tear up. And I don't cry easy. Like, it was a crazy ending. Like, there were people who, like, just play games for a living, and I was just like, as the game came out and I finished the story, like, I would go onto YouTube and just, like, look at, like, gameplays, and then I'd go to the very end of the game, and I would just watch their reactions. And I would just rewatch the last 20 minutes of the game and just watch their reactions. And it was so cool. Like, it's just so cool to see everyone, like, experience it. That's how great of an ending it is. And there were people saying like, man, I don't cry in video games. This is the first game that's ever made me cry. And they like have a gaming channel. It's like, oh wow. Okay. Yeah. It's a hands down the best Spider-Man game. Spider-Man 2 is a close second of the Raimi Spider-Man game on PS2. We had a lot of fun with that one growing up. What was your favorite side mission?
The pizza mission.
That was too tough for, like, it just got ridiculous. Like, how tough it was. Like, you deliver, like, a pizza that's, like, 10 blocks away and you gotta get there in 2 minutes. And then it's like, you gotta come back without rolling, without flipping, without, like, tumbling and damaging the pizza. And then don't go in the water, because if you do, then you'll lose all the pizzas. Like, it's a stupid part of that game, but every time you'd go in the water, you'd always fail the mission, no matter what it was. It's kind of weird, but yeah, Mr. Aziz, if you just think about it for a second, Mr. Aziz had the most unrealistic expectations for a delivery man in history. Like, it didn't ever say that Peter was late. He would always say, "Oh, Parker, you're here. Here's some pizzas." Unless I'm misremembering it, but as far as I remember, like, it was just like casual. And he's like, "Oh, there you are." Or, I need to replay this game. It's been a while, but he would just like send him off. It's like, okay, go across the entire city in 2 minutes, deliver 3 pizzas that are like miles apart, and come back in 3 minutes. And it's just like, with New York traffic, you are not going to even get like halfway there to one of the spots in that time that you're giving him. So it's like, did Mr. Aziz really know Peter was Spider-Man, and he's just like secretly taking advantage of it? That's the only thing I can think of, because, like, what the heck is Mr. Aziz doing?
Maybe it was just the game designers didn't think that all the way through.
That's probably all there is to it. But I mean, from a logical standpoint of,
like, hey, this would be a pretty cool mission if we put this together, but I mean, it doesn't make sense, but it's fun.
They probably didn't expect people like me 10 years later, 15 years later, to be critiquing this part of the game. So you're like, man, I sure hope someone doesn't critique why Mr. Aziz is doing this. But that's what I do, I guess. I hated the balloon mission so much.
Yeah.
No, well, I didn't hate it. It's just, it got annoying. Just the audio of my balloon. And then you'd have to go get it. And then it was like as tough as the pizza missions, because you have to jump right. And if you miss it, are you okay?
Joking. Yeah.
All right, there we go. We're back. Yeah, you'd have to like aim at the balloon, and you'd miss it, and then you'd like fall to the ground, and you'd have to climb back up, try again, and if you didn't hit the balloon, it would go up, and the balloon would the kid would just be crying and crying and crying. And what's ridiculous is you could hear the kid from across the city. And it's like, how is this kid this loud?
Yeah.
Is it like Black Bolt as a kid? Oh man. It makes a lot of stuff in that game doesn't make sense, but I guess that's the charm of it.
Yeah, the crying of the kid sounds like he's right in your ear, but
he's really like 10 blocks away. And it's a kid on like a street corner, like not even on a roof. So the yacht mission, or the sinking boat, was definitely the toughest for me. That was like you can't mess up at all. Like, if you make any screw up, it's over. It took me a while to perfect that as a kid.
Yeah, you have to have pretty good jumping techniques.
Yeah, you have to be very precise. You have to land here, jump over, you can't hit the water. So like you can't like if you try to jump off like this one thing that tripped me up is you would like hit the railing, you know, then you just like fall in the water. It's like yeah. So Spider-Man 2 is a great game. I would buy if you haven't played it. I would just buy a PS2 just to get that game. Like
Yeah, definitely.
like all the this trilogy games are good, but that one's top tier. Like it was considered to be the best swinging in any Spider-Man game until the Marvel's PS4 Spider-Man game came out. So, and I agree.
I mean,
I need to revisit it.
definitely the best game that is made like based off of a movie.
Yeah, of any movie really, ever.
As far as we've played.
Yeah. Meet the Robinsons was pretty lit, but I never beat that game. I would always get trapped on this one level, but I couldn't get past it. I should like retry it because we still have our PS2, and I should like look up a YouTube tutorial if anyone cared to post it, like the random PS2 game, like of Meet the Robinsons. I don't know. All right, so yeah, I think we pretty much covered everything. So this is my brother, my older brother. He likes golf. He likes he likes nutrition. He's in college right now. I will be next year, but all right. So that's just introducing him. I don't know if he'll be a long like continuing guest. I mean, he's just filling in.
It depends if you guys like me or not.
I guess, yeah. I mean, so to fill out the rest of the I guess hour is what we're shooting for. We'll just answer questions. On my Instagram, I had like a sticker thing on my story. It was like ask a question. So we'll just be going through these questions. Yeah, I mean that's about it. Yeah. So he'll be reading them to me.
First question: how did you build up your Instagram?
Well, this will be a long answer. There's no fast way to do it. That's the beginning. There's no fast way to do it. I started this in November of 2015, so that's how long it's taken me to get to this point. It's not necessarily an account that I started that I still have, but it's taken me this long to get to this point. So I was on like we were on like a family trip during Thanksgiving, and that's when I made my first account. But backtrack a few months, it was like September or October. My friend was like, we were just hanging out, and he was like scrolling through Instagram, and we both talked about comics and stuff a lot, and he was following these accounts that had like, I don't know, all these facts, like 100,000 followers or whatever. They were like the OGs, like the first ones to do facts about superheroes and stuff. And I was like, he would show me them, and I'm like, I already know that. Like, okay, why would they post something that everyone knows? Because me as a 14-year-old guy, I was like, come on, give me some real trivia here. So yeah, I would then I followed those accounts, and I was like, okay, I mean, every now and then I'd learn something new about like a DC character because I wasn't as into DC. And then it was just on this trip randomly. I'm like, I can do this better. Like, I know all this stuff. So I was like, screw it. I'm going to go and see if this works. That's literally all it was. So yeah, like the day it was like this it was either the day before or the day of Thanksgiving, 2015. I made a Marvel fact account. It doesn't exist anymore, but yeah. So like it was really what's the word? Uh,
Primitive.
Primitive. There you go. You read my mind. Primitive facts, like the way that I made them was very primitive. I used this like I just looked up like text on photo apps, and it was like it's the free one. So I was like, okay, there we go, and it wasn't complicated. So I just used that, and I probably posted 100 facts on that. And so after I made that account, I watched The Force Awakens for the first time, which was it was like the first Star Wars movie I'd ever seen in theaters that I remember. I might have seen Episode 3, but I don't know. So I watched Episode 7, and it blew my mind. I got instantly obsessed with Star Wars. I was reading the books. I was reading everything I could. I was watching all these YouTube videos, reading all these articles, because I was like, I'll make this Star Wars account to coincide with my my Marvel account. It'll be great. I can shout out my Star Wars account. I had like 1,000 followers on my Marvel one. I was like, all right. So um, then I kept going, and the Star Wars one blew up. It was like 50,000 followers in 4 months. Like, yeah, it just blew up. But yeah, after I hit like 10,000 followers on my Star Wars one, I was like, okay, this Marvel one's not really doing anything, so I'll just not do it anymore. So I just stuck with the Star Wars one. And then like I would try to make other accounts. It was kind of like trial and error of me trying to figure out what worked for me. Because I would make like meme pages. They were all superhero and Star Wars related, but like I made like a superhero meme page and like a pop culture in general page one time, where I would post a little bit of everything. I would post like comics or facts about stuff, or just like random funny pictures, and none of that worked. So I just stuck with the Star Wars one, and then my Star Wars account was hacked in April of 2016. So I immediately made a new one, and I couldn't ever recover that account. It's still there, star.or .fact. That was my sister. Star.wars.fact. It was like hacked right before I hit 50K on that account. And then I restarted, started from scratch, and then like so it was April, and then the next month I made this Spider-Man account, and I made it with my friend who Daily Comic Facts. He doesn't do it anymore, but yeah, he's off IG now. But so I made it with him. So, and then we just built up that account. So summer 2016 was when we made the Spider-Man one. And yeah, I've just been building up my account since then. Just post every day. That my tips are post every day. Find what you love, post about it. Post at least 3 times a day. Be passionate about it. Like if you're not passionate about it, it's gonna get old real quick, because it isn't quick. It's taken me like 2.5 years, 3 years to get to where I am right now. So it's definitely not a quick process, unless like you're a celebrity or some fluke thing happens. I mean, but if you're trying to build up a fan page or just like a passion project, it's not gonna do it quickly. So it just takes time. Really, with anything, you just got to build up the audience. It takes a while.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, let's go to the second question.
oh, okay.
How do you like Nick Spencer's run?
Okay, Nick Spencer is the current writer on Amazing Spider-Man. Um, I thought it's all right. I mean, it's nothing special. It's Dan Slott had been writing the character for 10 years. I mean, so it was refreshing to get someone new on the character. I mean, on Amazing Spider-Man. Um, his first 5 issues were kind of iffy. I mean, it just didn't develop really well for me. I liked aspects of it, but I mean, just the whole story arc was kind of rushed. So I didn't really feel anything because I felt like it was over before it started. So I mean, if that first arc had been like 10 issues, I feel like it would have been fully fleshed out. Because it was a cool idea. It was like Peter Parker and Spider-Man are split into two different people, and each half of Peter Parker has like different traits. Like Spider-Man was Spider-Man with like all the power, none of the responsibility. That was basically what the concept was. And then Peter Parker's just an average Joe because he literally doesn't have like any of his like smarts or powers. So it's like literally Peter's a normal, average 25-year-old. And it's like Peter trying to get back to being with his other half. And it was a cool idea. It just wasn't executed very well. And then his next arc, it was pretty good. I mean, it was with Black Cat. A lot of his arc so far has been, a lot of his run so far has been him doing damage control for what Dan Slott did. Because Dan Slott, I mean, he was.
Yeah, wasn't there a point where he was like a billionaire?
Yeah. Dan Slott had great ideas, but terrible execution. But his ideas are way worse than Nick Spencer. Nick Spencer's better at executing, even though he could still do better. But Slott is like the idea man. Like he's the guy that pitches great stuff. Like he has great ideas for everything. Like Doctor Octopus in Spider-Man's body. That's a great idea. I haven't read Superior yet, but I will eventually once I get to it in my reading of all of Spider-Man comics. But yeah, Nick Spencer's run has been good. He's just been doing damage control, trying to reset Spider-Man to what he used to be. I mean, it's going to take a while to get back to where Spider-Man used to be, but yeah, Dan Slott just kind of ruined. Like modern Spider-Man hasn't been very good up until Dan Slott leaving. Once he left, like all of a sudden, Spider-Man comics started to get better, like instantly. There's still some problems I have with them, but I mean, they're in the. It's a step in the right direction. So
yeah, what's been the worst Spider-Man villain?
Worst Spider-Man villain. I'll just think of the lamest villain. There's a guy named. He renamed himself to the Trapster because his first name was so stupid. His name was Pasty Pot Pete.
That is pretty lame.
Pasty Pot Pete. Basically, he had glue guns. That's his power.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, so like it was actually in this miniseries, which is a great miniseries, by the way. I'll talk about it in a little bit. Basically, he first encountered Spider-Man. He's like, "I got you. I'm Pasty Pot Pete," and Spider-Man just started dying laughing. He's like, "That's your name," and so like it ends with like him leaving and being like, "Gosh, I gotta come up with a new name." So then he renamed himself the Trapster. But yeah, he's a totally stupid villain. Yeah. It was stupid.
What is one thing that you don't like about the Spider-Man PS4 game?
One thing, such a good game. It's kind of hard to think about it. Think about negatives. Probably I mean, it has nothing to do with the story. If it was, I would have to think about things that I didn't like in the story. But well, I mean, MJ, this her constantly risking her life for no reason was kind of, I don't know. It's like she wouldn't learn her lesson and she was being ridiculous about it. By the end of the game, at least she figured out. She's like, "Oh, I guess I'm not supposed to put myself in danger like that." It's like, duh, shouldn't you be looking out for your own life? But I mean, I guess MJ, the story wise, wasn't a big fan of, but yeah, I guess that. I mean, that was I was thinking more towards the gameplay part. Like some of the boss fights aren't as elaborate as I would have liked. They were pretty easy and repetitive. But I mean, what are you gonna do?
Tombstone and Kingpin was pretty much the same kind of fighting.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Yeah. Oh, you fought Tombstone?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't play the side missions till after the game. Like I finished the main story. Yeah, I hate Screwball. Okay, next question.
Okay, weirdest thing that has happened to Spidey. Oh no!
Oh, there he goes. What?
Uh,
Worst thing that has happened to Spider-Man?
Weirdest thing that has happened to Spidey.
Weirdest thing. Okay, if you don't want to hear it, I mean, it's kind of weird. Skip like 30 seconds. There was a time when Spider-Man was some kind of vampire person. I don't know exactly what she was, but she kissed Spider-Man. Then after she kissed Spider-Man, he turned into a mindless, huge spider, kind of like Aragog from the Harry Potter movies. You know, that huge spider in the forest. He basically turned into that spider for like an issue or two.
Or kind of the spider that was in the 90s Spider-Man.
Yeah. Yes. But more big, more monstrous. So he turned into that. And then, like an issue, I don't know how long it lasted. But it was like maybe an issue or so. And then he basically came out of the spider. Like the spider died and he came out of it. And he had organic web shooters. It was so stupid because it's like Spider-Man has like mechanical web shooters that he uses for who knows how long, the entire history of his character. But to line up with the Spider-Man movies, let's give him organic web shooters because why not? It's like it's so unnecessary, and it was the dumbest way to ever do it. So yes, that is the weirdest thing. That's probably a lot of weird stuff's happened to Spider-Man, but that's a pretty weird thing. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you could write your own version of Spider-Man, how would you write it?
I would just try to mimic what Spectacular Spider-Man did. I would just take the core of the characters. I don't think I would want him to be in high school. I would want him to be either an adult or in college. Because that's where I feel like Peter's is most relatable. And I'm in high school, so I mean, like, this is coming from a high schooler. I think he's more relatable as a college kid and an adult than anything. So I would put him in that, similar to what the 90s show did. So I guess I would just like I would kind of model it off of the comics, take the core of the characters, and put them in college. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily mimic a straight adaptation of what it is, but basically like look at what the characters are. Like Flash is this bully jock that he also has a heart deep down inside that he doesn't want to ever show. Like, you know, just take the idea of the character and then put them into the story, and then like the characters write themselves. So, I mean, not literally, but I mean, you can get a good idea of what they would do just by looking at like their personality and stuff. So that's how I would do it.
All right. Is there anything specific that you like about the MCU Spider-Man?
Um, yeah, I mean, uh, I love the eyes, the move. I mean that like it actually shows the expression of when Spider-Man's like surprised or if he's like like kind of squinting at you like he's mad. Like I love how they it's such a clever way that they like because in the comics like it's just unexplained why his like wide eyes move. It makes no sense. But now the movie like showed how it's possible. It's really cool. I also like um, I loved the twist of Vulture being Liz Allen's father. Like that entire car ride is just like one of my favorite moments like in the MCU period. Like just that scene is so perfect.
Mm-hmm. How important do you think the style of comic art? How important is that for comic books?
I mean, it's pretty important. I mean, it's half of the storytelling. I mean, you can't have the comic without the art. But I mean, me personally, I can get past bad art. I mean, I'm used to bad art in comics. It just comes with the territory. Kind of like how there's bad actors in movies or bad animation in TV shows. It's just kind of one of the or bad CGI. It's just kind of one of those things that you just ignore and you just focus on the story. So I mean, it's just like that. I mean, it's not really anything. I can see why some people wouldn't want to get into comics because of that reason. But I mean, it's just like any other thing, like those small things that are kind of annoying. But you just got to get past it. Whenever it's bad art, I just look at the art slightly. I see what the picture is that they're trying to show, and then I just read. I don't like try to focus on the art, like the details, because I'll just like it'll mess me up. I'll be like, why? Why was this guy hired?
The proportions of this is not
Sal Buscema Jr., I think, or it was just Sal Buscema. It was, I think it was Junior though. I think it was Sal Buscema in like the Clone Saga of in the '90s. He was the artist on Spectacular Spider-Man, and man, he cannot draw. I mean, he cannot draw. Well, I mean, his art was good for a while. It was fine, but then it's like he fell off a cliff and he broke his arm and he couldn't draw anymore. I'm not sure what it was, but I mean, like it was ridiculous. I don't know if it was the shading or the inker or the colorist, but they I don't know who it was, but it was the worst art I've ever some of the worst art I've ever seen. Not the worst art, but some of the worst. Ugh, it was bad.
Yeah,
It was rough.
for Spider-Man comic.
It was rough.
How many Spider-Man are in Spider-Verse?
What do you mean? What's
Yeah, the question.
how many Spider-Mans are in Spider-Verse? I mean, if you're talking about like in the multiverse in general, unlimited, like there's an unlimited amount. It's like of parallel universes. So you could literally never run out of Spider-Man. Because there's so many like different alterations you can make. Like there's no end to it. So I mean you could do anything with it.
How did Uncle Ben not dying affect Spider-Man in different universes?
Okay. There's actually a few where there's a few where Uncle Ben didn't die. And in most of them Peter turned out to be like an egotistical, like, selfish person. um or not in a few of them he did, but there's others where he was still a good guy, but he just made the wrong choices. Um like most of them he turned into like some kind of actor or a movie star um or like an agent for other people. Like there's one where he became an actor and then he became the agent for like all of the Avengers and other superheroes. Um, and one where he was like a movie star. He was in like Spider-Man 6, and uh, it was actually pretty cool. Mary Jane was like the actress who played his love interest in the movies, and then he was married to Gwen Stacy, and Uncle Ben was still alive. So I mean, he was still a good person in that. He was just, instead of being an actual hero, he was a movie star, and then he made like wrong choices or whatever. That was the House of M storyline, by the way. Um, but yeah, there's like in the one where he became the agent for all the Avengers. Like he straight up like what's the word? Ghosted his family because like he did. Uncle Ben and Aunt May didn't like him going into the show business, and he's like, "No, I'm doing it." So Uncle Ben is a Spider-Man doesn't exist without Uncle Ben. So
Advice for trying to read more Spider-Man comics.
okay, I mean, read one comic and then you'll just be like, okay, I'll read another one. The hardest thing is starting. The hardest thing is actually like sitting down, no distractions, actually like picking up a comic and reading it. And then once you do, you're like, okay, what's next? And you don't even, it's just like, kind of like when you're writing a paper. It's just like you're procrastinating it. And then like you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to write one paragraph. And then all of a sudden you wrote the whole paper and you're like, okay, there we go. I mean, it's just got to actually sit down and do it. It's really all there is to it. That's how it is with a lot of things.
Rank the live-action Spider-Man movies best to worst.
Okay, you can do that too. So let's hear yours first. He hasn't seen Spider-Verse yet,
yeah,
and I haven't seen Venom yet. We haven't seen Venom. Still, I'm not in a rush to see it. So go ahead.
Let's say Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 1, then Amazing Spider-Man, then Amazing Spider-Man 2, then Spider-Man 3, then Homecoming.
I haven't heard this list, so I'm actually kind of surprised.
Then
that's all of them.
That's all.
There's Spider-Verse, but you haven't seen that, so
That would be pretty high according to what you said so far.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. We'll just wait for the DVD, I guess, but the DVD comes out like around my birthday, so yeah, we'll watch it, and you're gonna love it. Best worst, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 2002, Spider-Verse 3, number 4, Spider-Man 3, number 5, Amazing Spider-Man, and then I don't know, I kind of flip-flop on Homecoming and The Amazing Spider-Man. Like, for different reasons. Like, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is such a bad film, but it gets Peter Parker more. Peter Parker is more like Peter Parker, but Homecoming is like, it's a good movie if, like, you put if you put Miss Marvel in Peter Parker's shoes and then put Captain Marvel in Tony Stark's shoes, that's a perfect movie. Like, it's a great movie. It's just, it doesn't work for the character of Spider-Man. It contradicts like everything the character is in like pretty much every other iteration of the character. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I would put Homecoming in front of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, just because The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is such a bad movie. Really, the only redeeming quality of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is that Gwen's death and the suit, the visuals, like, and Electro looks terrible, but all the visuals except for the villain designs, like Rhino looked terrible, Electro looked terrible, Green Goblin looked terrible, but like the CGI swinging, Spider-Man doing stuff looked great. I just did not like Electro as a blue man. I didn't like Rhino was a tank, and I didn't like the Green Goblin. Looked like I don't even know.
Goblin.
He didn't.
The
It
guy's
was weird.
a guy that had like slime spilled all over him.
It was so
I
weird.
don't know.
They went too far with it. Too far. And yeah, it was just weird. Also, I didn't like that everything was tied to Oscorp. Literally everything. It's kind of weird how that worked. Literally everything was an Oscorp. I didn't like that. It made the world feel too small.
Yeah,
Where,
for
like,
me, I like
Literally nothing happens in that universe without Oscorp.
For me, I just like the movie visually and just the simple aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I watch Spider-Man 3, I just see it as a meme almost. I mean, it's a fantastic meme.
I like it. It's better than most remember. I mean, it just has a few parts that are kind of. It has a few aspects to it that are just not good. Like Venom was rushed so horribly, and Gwen was terribly used. Mary Jane was terrible. But yeah, like Peter Parker was nailed, just like he always had been. So I mean, yeah. What's the next question?
What is the absolute worst Spider-Man comic that you've ever read?
One More Day. Sins Past would be on there, but I haven't read it because I'm avoiding it openly. Like I'm not trying to read that anytime soon, and I don't want to tell you what it is. Don't Google it. One More Day is so bad. It's the undoing of Peter and Mary Jane's marriage. Yeah, next question. I don't want to talk about it.
How does Spider-Man's web shooters work?
He double taps. He double taps like this. Like you'd think that he would just like hit that, but it's so that like in case he punches somebody, he doesn't actually like throw webs out. So he has to double tap to swing. So, I mean, it's a pretty cool detail.
How could One More Day be broken?
By Mary Jane and Peter simply getting back together and getting married. That's pretty much all there is to it. It's all you need to do. One More Day like changed Peter's character. Like he hasn't been the same since. He's starting to get back there after Dan Slott left, but right.
What is Ben Reilly's motive for crime fighting?
It's the same as Peter Parker because Ben Reilly was when Ben Reilly was made, he's a clone of Spider-Man, but basically he was given all of Peter's memories, so he has Uncle Ben as his motive. So yeah, that's why he does it, or at least that's the way it should be. I haven't read his recent comic run. I feel like they've changed his character for some reason. I'm not sure why. I haven't read it, but that should be his motive at least. I'm not sure if it is anymore, but it should be.
What other comics do you read other than Spider-Man?
I have a few things that aren't Spider-Man. Not as many. The majority of my comic collection is Spider-Man. I just recently started reading Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky. He's the writer. He did Spectacular Spider-Man. He wrote that, which was really good. It was going along with Dan Slott's like final issues or whatever. And he did like 30 issues, and it's the best Spider-Man run since before One More Day. Since One More Day, it's the best like iteration of the character in the comics since that. So like the first time in 12 years that like it was actually I could like, wow, that's Peter Parker, instead of just being like, who's this man baby that Dan Slott's writing about? Like, who's this billionaire? Like, I could talk all day about what Dan Slott did wrong, but yeah, Zdarsky, after he finished Spectacular, he went over to Daredevil. So I picked up issue 1. It was really good. And I also I'm starting to branch off a little more from Spider-Man with new comics. I'm trying to expand my horizons a little bit, even though I'm getting like every Spider-Man comic. But I've read a bunch of Iron Man. I got like a bunch at a flea market, and I read like all the 30 issues I got from it. It was like from the 80s. I also got a bunch of Fantastic Four. I've read some of those. I need to finish those. Got some Avengers, got some Daredevil, got some. There's a really good miniseries called Marvels. It's like Alex Ross. You know, he does those paintings.
Yeah.
The entire comic's Alex Ross. It's really good. I've read some of Smallville, based on the TV show. I haven't delved into DC much, in general, and when I do, it's usually like tie-ins to like TV shows or movies because I don't really delve into the comics. Really, the only DC comics I'd be interested in is like the Young Justice tie-in comics or Smallville, like the continuation comics. So,
well, let's leads into the next question. Do you watch Young Justice?
Oh, there we go. I did not plan that.
Outsiders? If so, what do you think about it?
Yeah, so Young Justice Outsiders is the 3rd season of it, of Young Justice. I've watched the first 2 seasons, and they are phenomenal. They're on the level of like Spectacular Spider-Man. They're that good because it's made by the same dude, Greg Weisman. Greg Weisman's the GOAT. He's really good at like adapting comic books. I will watch season 3 once it's like all out because I don't want to. I guess I'm being cheap or whatever, but because it's on the DC subscription service, so I don't want to pay for like 3 months as they all come out. I want to like get it and then cancel my subscription once I watch it all. So I just want to binge it all in once it. And then boom. So yeah, that's why I haven't watched it yet, but I will definitely watch it.
Yeah, that concludes our questions.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, oh, this was the other comic I got. It's kind of like a play on with Amazing Spider-Man, the logo is, but I don't know what this is. I haven't really been paying attention to X-Men, but it's the Amazing Nightcrawler #1. I haven't read it yet. It's like Age of X-Men. X-Men is what it's called. I think it's like an alternate universe where like the X-Men are all like movie stars, I think. So instead of the X-Men, it's like Studio X. I don't know. I haven't read it yet, but yeah. So I guess that concludes it. Has this been an hour?
I think it has been.
That went by quickly, actually.
Yeah.
I thought it would like drag on longer, but yeah. I mean, this was. I meant to do like a podcast. Like, I meant to do one like every 2 weeks or so, but it kind of like schedules didn't meet line up. And we actually, Noah and I did do a second episode, but we had internet connection issues, so we had to scrap it. So we did this. So this is why it was so delayed. Yeah, sorry about that. I'll try to be more on it. We'll try to do it like every Saturday, every other Saturday. But yeah, that's about it.
Oh. That concludes this podcast.
All right. See you guys.